with Arnold Dean. Hot talk, great guests. Weeknights at 6:15 from WTIC, Hartford.
BBC Radio, Canada's public broadcast.
Try Carter's Little Liver Pill. Good advice.
Good mornings only on KCMO Kansas City. It's 8 o'clock.
When you're tuned to CDS Radio.
This is the DX Central from the Static Podcast.
From Studio B of the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana.
And welcome to episode number 8 of the From the Static Podcast. I'm your host, Lloyd Van Horn, in Studio B of North Shore Studios, where we just wrapped up down the hall DX Central Live, Season 6, Episode number 5. Another great episode. We had a lot to talk about tonight, but we also got a lot of DX in, which I always enjoy being able to do. Some of the stuff we talked about that you can expect on this edition of the podcast, hour number 1, we talked about storage. And no, not just, I'm not talking storage here for like, what do I do with my radios once I've upgraded to an SDR, right? I'm talking about, I have an SDR and I'm doing recordings and I need somewhere to either put those recordings until I can get around to listen to them, or maybe it's long-term storage. You want to keep those recordings forever and ever and ever and ever. We talk about some storage options that you can explore, from external hard drives to NAS servers, things like that. In hour number 2, we talked Jaguar, the SDR / AMDX tool that is tethered to the Perseus SDR. So for our Perseus users, or someone who might be thinking about getting a Perseus, even though it's now almost 20 years these things have been out, it's getting close. They continue to perform very, very well for AM DXers around the world. And so we talk a bit about the Jaguar software. Now, I will freely admit that talking through software that people are watching on a live stream and can see my screen sometimes doesn't translate well to a podcast. I still think there's value here. So if you're thinking about a Perseus, or if you have one and you're thinking about Jaguar, listen into what we talk about, and I'll talk about some of the benefits and features and cool parts about it. And then if you really like what you're hearing, go check out the replay on our YouTube channel. That way you can see the visuals and everything. But at least here listening in, you can be like, that sounds interesting, right? So I still think there's value there for our podcast folks to listen in on hour number 2 conversation. Plus, we have lots of DX in between those two conversations, before them, after them as well. So some stuff you're going to want to listen in for. We also talk a bit about the Tropo forecast. We talk about some FM sporadic E-openings that happened recently on the East Coast. We talked a lot of shout-outs. Got to some shout-outs this week, more than we thought we would get to after being behind the last couple of weeks. We talked a bit about the solar activity that's been coming up here lately, CMEs and things like that have been giving AMDXers a little more activity towards the south. So a lot to get to in this episode. So without any further delay, here is Season 6, Episode 5 of DX Central Re-Live.
From the Gulf South
to your corner of the world,
this is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's Friday night. That means DX Central Live. Good evening, my friends, from Studio A here in the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana. We bring you live DX, a little bit of fun on the side. This is DX Central Live, Season 6, Episode number 5. Very, very happy to be here with you all tonight. You guys get my sense of humor in there in the chat. Thanks. See, you're picking up on it. We have got some stuff to talk about tonight. We're going to, based on some conversations that I was seeing happening on Slack and social media, we're going to talk a bit about storage. I'm not talking about packing up your radios and putting them up in the attic. I'm talking about IQ recording storage. Holding on to those bad boys. That way you can retrieve them later. I've got a whole shelf over here of hard drives. 8 terabyte hard drives that I need to eventually get to. But also, just for those folks, there are a lot of you who are much, much more diligent than I at getting to your IQ recordings and reviewing those and then being done with it and then discarding. There are some IQs that even after I'm done with the review, I still keep them. Like several of the openings from this summer, I'm not getting rid of those. They're too special. Like the Honduras opening, the Jamaican opening. I'm like, man, those were really, really awesome. I don't want to get rid of those. I want to keep those and be able to go back later on and relive the opening. So we're going to talk a bit about how to do that, how to store some of this stuff long term, or even that kind of middle limbo period where you're kind of like holding on to it till you can get to the recording and review it. So we're going to talk about some different options that you can look at for that. And that'll be in hour number 1. Hour number 2, we're going to, by request, talk about Jaguar. There's been several of you who have requested that we do a video, and I've been saying for 5 years I'm going to do a video on Jaguar, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So we're going to do a formal video for the YouTube channel on Jaguar, but I thought tonight we could at least look at Jaguar together. I see Kaz is in the chat. I know Kaz is one of the folks that's like, can we get something on this? Because this program's completely different from everything else that's out there. So absolutely we can. So we're going to talk a bit about Jaguar tonight and some of the basic ways to kind of use it. And a very, very, very light look at some of the more advanced features. I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole, but we're going to, definitely touch on some of the things that I think are helpful for US DXers. There's other features that are super helpful, I think, more for like European DXers, but for us, maybe not as much just because of how packed our band is and stuff like that. So we'll talk about Jaguar in the second hour. We're also going to talk about Tropo on the FM band heading down to the Gulf Coast this evening, actually, as we get ready for a cold front that's about to come through. That cold front's causing some issues, by the way, for our friend Barry up in Tennessee. You see the lightning map right now. For once, look at us. I mean, we have a little bit off the coast here, but we're pretty much in the clear. Barry, you're right dab smacking it here. So definitely protect the radios, man. So we're going to look at the Tropo forecast and see what's heading where for folks, because this front's can also produce some Tropo for other folks as well. It's actually been pretty decent the last couple of days. We're also going to look at solar activity, because Old Sol has been getting going with some CME activities recently. And it was right in time for us to have our antennas pointed away from the south, which is what prompted reverse propagation services to make themselves known tonight. We're also going to talk about some sporadic E in November. Yeah, it's happening. We've had the past week, majority of the week, more days than not, have seen at least some sporadic E activity somewhere. A lot of East Coast, down in Mexico, up to the Western U.S. So there's been some stuff. So we're going to take a look at the maps and see how much is actually there. It's actually, if I had to compare it, it's like a early May right now here in November for sporadic E, which is kind of interesting. So we'll talk a bit about that. Of course, we got your shout outs to get to. dxchallenges.com/shoutout. That's where you want to go to submit the form to get your shout outs in for what you've been hearing, new gear you've gotten, new skills you've learned, cool stuff you want to share. If you just want to say, man, so-and-so helped me with this program. I know a lot of you guys are working with Rick Kunath and Jeff right now on learning Linrad. So if you're like, hey man, I'm getting all this stuff from these guys, learning Linrad, it's cool. I'm gonna do this eventually. I promise you. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. And let's see what else. For our top of the hour tonight, we're going requests because we're on the Grayline challenge, and Grayline period is now pretty much over here in Mandeville. So we're going to go open for requests. So if you got a frequency you want us to sit on and check it out, then this is the time to let us know. As a matter of fact, we're about to do that now. I'm going to start off by request. We had a request from one of our patrons looking for 4 VEH on 840 from Haiti. So I actually took one of our antennas and moved it down to the southeast here this evening. So we're back to 125 degrees on our northwest southeast CAS. And so we're going to be looking for Dashing Through the Snow on 4 VEH on 840 tonight as our first top of the hour alert.
DX Central Live top of the hour alert.
All right, so we're going to be looking here. By the way, this first DX session is brought to you by That's right. We're brought to you by the International Radio Club of America, IRCAonline.org. So we're going to hit, we've got this 125 on 2 radios right now here on our Kiwi SDR you see on screen. I'm also hitting record on the AirSpy so we can come back in afterwards and hit that one and try the code channel canceller if we need to, see if that makes a difference. But let's take a gander at 125 degrees on our Kiwi SDR and see what we have on 840. Pretty sure that Spanish religious station is Radio Aleluya. They come in like gangbusters here. And this other religious talk here, it's got to be HAS, right? We might get a little rain this evening into the morning, but no snow. Although it's supposed to be like 20 degrees for lows after this in November, which is for us like crazy. All right, mic mute time.
Esta es la hora en W, exactamente en la noche, 8 en punto. Esta es
I'll go ahead and hear. Yeah, we have WA from Cuba. Had the nice ID. That little song that played right there, that little right before the ID, that little kind of little song jingle that they played. That is their kind of their jingle ID that they do. And yeah, I think you're right, Kaz. I had HAS in here booming earlier, but I think I vactrolled them out enough and didn't realize it. And that might be Birmingham or Hazel Green that's in there. Because I did hear a pattern change. So they must have switched their pattern right there at the top of the hour to switch to their nighttime pattern. So that's my guess, because they just disappeared. So let's also go over here now and take a look at the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. And we're going to hit stop on the old recorder. We're going to change this over to our baseband file player. We're going to open up this evening's file that we just made. And let's take a listen here on 840 and see what we might have caught. See if maybe we can co-channel cancel out one of these loud ones and hear that 4 VEH jingle underneath. Probably not, just because I'm guessing we're probably going to have WV on top, but we'll see. Let's get the zoom down here.
Esta es W, desde Santa Clara, en el centro de Cuba.
One more. Let's see if we can get rid of Dobleve here. No sign of Haiti in there, folks, unfortunately. I was really hoping they would be in there, but no sign of Haiti there at the top of the hour on 8:40. So, oh well, we'll keep trying. And like I said, if we when we get in here on our next 2 hours, we'll open up for requests as well. So if you have a request, we'll double check 8:40 as well each hour just to see if they come in. It's a little early. But we'll also do your requests. So if you have a frequency, just let us know in the chat where you want us to go check out on our next DX session, and we shall do that. All right. So we got your shout outs to get to this hour here. We've got to talk about storage, hard drive storage, IQ recording storage for AM, for FM, DX, whatever. We just want to be able to record these files and hold on to them and get to them when we get to them, right? Well, we're going to talk about some options and what we use here at DX Central and what's worked well for us. But what we're looking at for our next phase of how this is all going to work for us, that's down the line, but that's something we're going to be working on next. So don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is heading your way right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central. The DX Central North Shore Studios. This is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live here in the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana. We'll bring you live DX conversation and challenges and shout outs and all kinds of good stuff. Our Grayline challenge continues on for another week. So you still have some time to do some of that sunset, sunrise DX if you have not yet done so. Remember, it's 45 minutes before to 45 minutes after your local sunset or local sunrise for you. And that's the period that we're DXing right now. And I've caught a couple this week. I haven't had a lot of time for DX, but we have caught a couple this week, which has been nice. And fleshing out some frequencies that maybe were a little barren. We talked about that last week with logbooks and logbook analysis. So using that, kind of practicing what I preach here, and using that to help me find some dead spots in the logbook and get some new ones in. So pretty happy about that. Some other folks got some new stuff this week, and we're going to hear about it right now because we're doing shout outs, baby.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM to C to C. We celebrate the ones who snag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout outs making waves today.
All right. We got some good ones in here tonight already. Love seeing those in there. Well, let's see. You guys are talking about Haiti. Yeah, Haiti's still there. They were heard the other night. The jingle was heard the other night. What was it? Tuesday? Wednesday? I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday. Sean heard them. Heard the jingle and everything. So they're still there. Faux show. Let's start off our shout outs here with our friend John Johnson in Arizona, a friend of the channel and likes to catch the replays and watches them, which is awesome because, hey, however you're watching, if you're watching it live with us here, we love having you here and being able to chat with you directly. If you're watching the replays, awesome. If you're catching us on the podcast on fromthestatic.net or from the Static podcast on fromthestatic.net, or wherever you get your podcast, however you're doing it, we just appreciate you being here and participating in all the fun. John Johnson says 2 new Texas logins this week: 880 KJOZ in Conroe and 1290 KRGE in West Laco. This brings my Texas loggings to 122. My Mesa, Arizona totals now stand at 921. I need to make a little doodad here for Texas, for folks getting Texas, especially like what's a, new state form or something. But we already have that covered, I guess. Well, I need to do a Texas one here, don't we? Anyway, here's a nice log saw for your friend John Johnson. Well done, my friend. Anything you can get. I say our Western U.S. DXers, anything you're able to get new into the logbook is impressive, right? Because even our East Coast folks, right, when you get something new and you've reached that point where getting new stuff is more rare, like you get that new and you're like, wow, I can't believe I got one. Our West Coast folks, they hit that wall way earlier, way earlier than the East Coast folks do. So whenever I see folks out West, Stephanie, Charles, John, you guys out there getting new stuff in the logbook, man, that's extra special because I know for you guys, it's a grind. On the opposite side of the coast, though, we go to David up in Maine. David says, didn't do much actual DXing this week as I was bitten by the Linrad bug. Apparently, that's going around. Spent most of my time learning that. I did get one new log using RSP Duo, West and Southwest Bogs, and Linrad to phase out my local. I logged 910 KCJB in Minot, North Dakota for North Dakota number 3. My man. Heck yeah. Well done, man. Well done. And I promise you guys, I promise Rick this and Jeff and everyone else, I will jump on this Linrad bandwagon. It's going to happen. I need to devote the time to it, and I have not yet done that. That's on me. I also got to get my RSP Duo up and running as well. So there's that too. And an antenna for, because I don't have a second antenna for here right now, but we'll get there. Stuart, W8SRC. He's not on the chat tonight. He's occupied with work this week and tonight, but he is going to watch the replay. So, hey, Stuart. Been quite occupied with work this week. I'll be watching the replay. See, I told you. But I did manage to log a handful of new stations for the Grayline Challenge, as well as one new one via skywave. Talk Radio 680 WCBM in Baltimore, Maryland, 411 miles. Gospel Carolina Radio 720 WGCR in Pisgah Forest, 488 miles. I remember that station very well and from my Brasstown days. 980 CFPL in London, Ontario, 135 miles. 1290 WHIO in Dayton, Ohio, 181 miles, mixing with my local WLBY. 1670 The Zone WOZN in Madison, Wisconsin, 291 miles. That's one I want to get. Mad Radio 1580 WMDX in Columbus, Wisconsin, 284 miles. ESPN 1410 WING, Dayton, Ohio, 180 miles. Don't they get out, man? Charleston, there they were. Here, I've heard them, right? And Ohio is not, you think, well, it gets out pretty well. But Ohio doesn't really get here that well. Even 1220 out of Cleveland, WHKW, took forever. I didn't hear it until last week, right? So Ohio doesn't really get down here very often. So, but Wing is one of those that seems to always do it. So they do get out well. Also, continuing on here, Bay Country 1400 WATW in Ashland, Wisconsin, 459 miles. My first distant graveyard. Awesome, nice. 1300 NQM in Nashville, 451 miles. Sports Talk 1090 WAQE in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, 457 miles. The big one, 1070 WFLI, Lookout Mountain, Tennessee. Man, I remember those guys as well from my Brasstown days. 507 miles. 930 The Gobbler, Boy, they're about to be very active this month. KKIN in Atkin, Minnesota, 360 watts at 569 miles. I swear, God is my witness. I thought they could fly. I additionally had a question for the group about a potential FM signal I received earlier this week when top of band E-skip was reported from New Jersey and surrounding states. I happened to briefly receive a dead carrier on 88.5 fading up and down, typical E-skip fashion. I've been seeing that too this summer. I had that happen a couple times. Dead air, 88.5 open carrier, in and out. Peaking around 33 dBV on my TEF, which is normally more than strong enough to decode RDS, but it did not. My AirSpot HF Plus Discovery also picked up the fading dead carrier, which was gone before the opening and had a chance to die down. If anyone has any thoughts as to what this mystery signal could be, feel free to please let me know. Yeah, that's a head scratcher, man. Because I mean, like I said, I also saw multiple openings this year where we had 88.5 dead air. So who knows who that could be? But you guys, I know Stuart's not watching live with this. He's going to be on the replay, but send him some love in the chat right now because we got some new logs for him. We're going to start with the Wisconsin cheese cut. I want that t-shirt. I want that turkey drop t-shirt. I got to get it. And when I do, it'll be worn here on the show. I promise you that. And we got some log sawing here to do for our friend Stuart as well. All right. Well done, my friend. Patron of the channel, patron of DX Central, an executive producer and friend of all the work that we do here. So thank you, Stuart. Another good friend, Greg Caniglio in New York, says nothing earth-shattering, but a few new logs thanks to the Graveyard Challenge on October 28th. WGCH in Greenwich, Connecticut, 266 miles, and WSOO in Sault Ste. Marie, that's in Michigan, 388 miles. November 3rd was DXing the Grayline, but still got two new, let's see what he says. November 3rd was DXing the Grayline, but still got the two new Graveyarders nonetheless. I see what he's saying. He moved from Graveyard to Grayline. See, too much grr in there. Too much grr. WTHU 1450 Thurston, Maryland, 258 miles. WARK Hagerstown, Maryland, 242 miles. And WZWB 1420 Kenowa, West Virginia, 409 miles. Lloyd's comment about making sure your log is complete is good advice. I'm 80% sure I've heard it be ARK before, but it's not my log, but now it is. See, I can't tell you how many times I've done that. Where I'm like, wait, how have I can't remember. There was a 50 kilowatter. Maybe it was like WGY or one of those that I had not logged. And I was like, how have I not logged these guys yet? Went up, flipped up. There they were. Logged them. Good to go. I just don't know how I missed that, right? It just has slipped through. And you'd be surprised how many times that happens. So log book analysis. Very, 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 very important. All right. We're going to do one more shout out and then we're going to hold the rest for the next hour and we'll get to our main topic of this hour. Mesa Mike up in Virginia, just a few new ones the past couple. Did I give Greg his? I don't think I did. Greg, I'm sorry, bud. I didn't get you your horn of victory and your log saw, man. There we go. All right, now Mesa Mike up in Virginia, amazing site. This guy, his Mesa Mike's list of U.S. stations. Talking about logbook analysis, you can export this out into like a delimited file that you can import into a Excel file or Google Sheets or whatever. And then through like formulas like VLOOKUP and things like that, you can use his data to help give you data in your logbook so you can know, for instance, what's the percentage of stations in my state that I've heard? You can figure that out. You can have it automatically fill in the distance between your location and the station, because you can actually plug in your lat long on his website and he'll give you distance and bearing from your location to that station. And then you can use those formulas when you're putting stations into your logbook to say, go look up the data on Mesa Mike's site, and it'll automatically pull in anything that's US distance and bearing into your logbook if you want to do that. So you don't have to go look it up right there automatically. Great resource, guys. Just a few new ones the past couple of weeks. 870 HJAY in Barranquilla, Colombia. Something not Cuba. Finally, with WWL canceled. That is, I forgot what the network is on that one. I've heard them here. It's like radio. Oh, where's my logbook? It's going to drive me crazy. Bear with me, guys. It's going to drive me crazy if I don't remember who this was. Radio. Get my filter. I'll have it in a second. Don't worry. I just got to pull up the logbook. 70. Radio Verdad. Radio Verdad. Truth. 650 rather. I? Oh, yeah, it is. HIAT, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic on 650. Also something other than Cuba with WSM canceled. If I'd seen the country, I would have known the call sign was HI. 1530 XEUR in Mexico City. Can't believe I haven't logged this one before now. There, see, it's contagious, man. Everyone's catching it. Everyone's catching the, how have I missed these guys? Also last night, I heard Argentina national anthem on both 1110 and 870, but these are not new stations for me. And he does have some clips here we'll play a little bit later on. So first, we get the Latin American station here for you. And the new Latin American stations. And we'll give you the log songs. You got me. And like I said, he's got a couple clips. We'll get to those here in a bit to play those and tune in what he's been hearing here. But first, let's get to our main topic for the hour. I want to talk about storage. Now, this might seem like a kind of a no-brainer. A lot of us are probably already doing something. You might think, well, what I'm doing is fine. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it's not. So we talk a bit about here at DX Central some of the stuff that we already are using today. And we're using these. These are 8 terabyte Seagate desktops, consumer grade. And you see here the little Seagate logo up here in the corner. I've got. Oh, let's see if knocking stuff off on the floor. Like I said, I've got 8 of these. Or more than 8. I think I've got 6 or 7 just for FM now. And then like 10, 11 for AM. Now, these are good. These are good hard drives. And you see they have them in different sizes here. They have 10, 12, 14, 16 terabytes and up. If you can afford it. And this particular one, this style right here that has like the lines on it, there's an 8 terabyte of that as well. I have a couple of those. And these are good. I mean, these are fine, perfectly fine for the most part, for most of us. If you're wanting to have access and you're going to probably get to it at some point quickly, get to your recordings, get that sucker reviewed and then either delete it or find some way to archive it or whatever. So if you're looking for a nice, manageable hard drive, these Seagates are fine. There's a couple other brands that you might trust out there more, or you prefer Western Digital, things like that. So again, these are nice consumer grade ones just to kind of get you started. There are some things about these that you want to be careful with. The longer they sit, the more unreliable they get. Rhymed. Dust is not their friend. They don't like dust, and that's something I struggle with here in the shack. And they also, Rick Kunoth in a Slack channel this week was talking about this. The way that they kind of store data from a consumer level, it's not super great because it can kind of lead to some artifacts of files that kind of, if I'm understanding what he was saying correct, it can lead to some artifacts sometimes of files, or reducing the long story short, the way these are constructed, these hard disks, especially these hard disk drives, they're not going to last a super long time. And I've been working with these now for 5 years. I'm probably approaching end of life on quite a few of them. So I know there's probably going to be some that I lose here at some point. My hope is that I can transfer their contents over to another solution I'll be looking at here in a second with you before that happens, but we'll see. But again, if you're looking for something that's like a quick thing, you're like, I just need to offload some stuff, this is a good option. Another thing you may want to consider, and this is what I did when I built my custom PC here in the shack, is I got one. It's a desktop PC. I prefer the desktops because of expandability, and I can kind of swap components out whenever I need to. If like the memory is not enough, I can upgrade the memory. If I don't like the motherboard anymore, it's not working out for me, I need more power, I can swap out the motherboard, things like that. But I got enough expansion ports in here in this computer so I could do multiple hard disk drives. I could do 2 hard disk drives, and I think I got 2 solid states as well. Solid states are fast. Okay, you want to be careful. You want to get the right ones to get them there super fast. When I'm doing my recording of my the entire FM band, let's say I'm recording 24 megahertz of FM band all at once, right? The entire FM band. And I'm doing like an hour or 2 hours or whatever. On my old computer, on my hard disk drives, it would like buffer and it would skip, and I'd have these little parts that were like missing on my recorded files. Solid state doesn't have that problem. You get a fast enough solid state, you can record a massive file, and it's going to be perfectly fine. Now, from an AM standpoint, I never had a problem ever. But if you're doing like a larger file, you're going to run into, especially when you get to like 8, 10 megahertz or more, you're going to run into some issues where it's having a hard time keeping up with the writing that it needs to do. So solid state is definitely the best way to go for like the now. Recording it, putting it there now. Then what I do is I have everything recorded there, and then I offload that to a hard disk drive that is in my computer. I have one 16 terabyte and one 18 terabyte. These are the actual hard drives that look. There's one on here, like this guy right here. Not particularly this particular one here, but it looks like that, right? Like it goes inside your computer. I have a 16 terabyte and 18 terabyte of those, and it works super good. Like it takes, even with my full band recordings, it takes a while to fill those up, even the full FM band. And then once I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I want to offload those and put them on like one of my storage drives, like I showed you here, this guy on screen, then that's where I move that over. So my system is record on the solid state, move it to one of the hard disk drives so I can do my review. And then once I've decided if I want to keep it or not, I move it to one of these hard drives. I've got a bunch of hard drives before I was doing that system that are just stuff I haven't reviewed yet, so whatever. I'll get to those eventually. But for the current setup, it's record on the solid state, move it to hard disk drive, and then once I decide if I want to keep it or not, if I am keeping it, I archive it on one of these for now. So that's a good system. It works pretty well. You'll need the storage amount that you need. It just depends on what you're recording. Like for a full band recording for FM, I need some room. I can get, especially if it's a busy summer, like we had this last year of eSkip, I can fill up an 8 terabyte hard drive with ease. Right, with these FM recordings. I used to be able to get, I think it was 6 months of Jaguar full AM band recordings. I could do about 5 to 6 months on 8 terabyte hard drive. That seems about right from what I remember. So again, it just depends on how much you're recording. If you're doing nothing but weather DX and you're just doing that little tiny bandwidth on 162 megahertz right there, go nuts. Right? You don't have to get the big drive. You can get like a 2 terabyte and you're probably set for a while, right? So this is the easy kind of consumer grade solution. You get yourself a USB 3, probably. You want USB 3 if you're doing an external hard drive, because that way your transfer rates are nice and quick. Especially if you can do like USB-C 3.1, 3.2, one of those. you want to do that, that'll work. However, I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking, okay, I want long-term storage here. I want to be able to archive these suckers and keep a hold of, like, if I don't want to get rid of it, if I'm like the Jamaican, Honduran openings on FM this year, I don't want to get rid of those ever. I want to always have access to those whenever I want. So I need something archival quality. I need something where I can store it indefinitely and feel good that it's going to be there in 20 years. So that's where I'm looking to more now, not this particular brand Ugreen that you see here, but this kind of thing. This is called a NAS system, network attached storage. And what you basically have is you have a device. You can have an old computer. If you have an old computer laying around that you're not using anymore, you can configure it for this. You need to have your slots for your hard drives to be able to put it in. Or you can get a device like this that's it's built specifically for this purpose. And you have your slots in here, and each of those slots is a hard drive. And then you have to actually buy the hard drives. So this $629 price tag you see on here, that's just for the container here and the computing power and everything that's on this device. It doesn't include the hard drives, so you still have to buy those. But that's kind of one of the things that I'm looking, not this particular one that you see on screen. I have an old Dell desktop over here I want to convert into a NAS server. But with this one, what you basically would have is you would have this connected to your local network. And then from anywhere on your network, no matter which computer it is, you can store all of your files on these hard drives that are in this little server setup. Okay. And so it's much, much quicker than the USB route. It is much, much quicker. And you can get some very nice size storage hard drives. I'm talking like 18, 20 plus terabytes in each one of these slots here. And the cost for that compared to the same size hard drive on those external hard drives with those enclosures is going to be way better. Okay. And you can also get better quality. Let me show you what I mean by that. I think it's Seagate Wolf. Is that the one? Iron Wolf. There's one of these that's the Pro version. Iron Wolf Pro. Here we go. This is a good example. This is an 18 terabyte NAS quality hard disk drive. So this is made to be like archival quality. 18 terabytes. Now, $339 is your sticker price on this. Sometimes you can find like Prime deals and things like that where they're a little bit less, but that's the sticker price on it today. And that's renewed. So you can kind of do the math. If you're saying, okay, I need about 5 of these things for all the stuff I want to store, well, there's your price. So it's not cheap, but it is for a long-term archival quality, fast connection. That's the one that you can do. And then you can also, if you have one of those kind of setups like we just looked at here, if you were to go this route, a lot of these, you can take this little slot of your hard drive out, pop a brand new one in, close that in, and now your hard drive that had that stuff on it, you can put that into like a sealed container and store that. And that is going to be then protected from dust and all the other stuff we talked about that is not good for it. And then you can always go back to that and kind of pull that hard drive in whenever you need to access those files, but you can truly have archives of your IQ recordings this way. So I first was looking at this because I was looking at doing a Plex media server. So those of you who might know what those are, it's where you basically take like your DVD collection, your Blu-ray collection, you can rip them onto a hard drive, and then you can put all those files on a server like that. And then you can use Plex or one of these other server type apps on your TV, so you can stream from your server your DVD collection essentially, without having to get up and put the DVD and all that kind of stuff. You can search all of it right there on your screen. So I was like, oh, I really like that. Let's do that. So that's when I first started doing the research, and then I was like, well, before I do that, let's actually do that, but for DX Central, and like do it for our DX stuff, because that would be really awesome to have. No matter what computer I'm on in the house, I can store all of my IQ files in one location instead of having a little bit on this computer, a little bit on that computer, on this hard drive over here, on this hard. They're scattered all over the place. This would give me a nice central place to put that. So that is my long-term solution. My long-term goal is to do a NAS server. I'm gonna get this old Dell tower sitting over here that's not being used right now. I'm gonna outfit it with a solid state drive for the store everything it needs to store for the NAS software. So I got memory on there that's upgraded, and then I'll just start putting hard drives in. I've got a bunch of slots in there for hard drives, so I'm gonna start putting hard drives in, and then that'll be my network attached storage eventually. So the biggest cost for me on that one's gonna be the drives. That's gonna be your biggest cost is the drives. So something to think about, and you can make that as elaborate as you want it to be. You can have 1 or 2 drives that are 20 terabyte, and that probably, I'm weird. I have a ton of recordings. You probably have a couple of 15, 18, 20 terabyte hard drives, and that does you, and you're good. You're golden for a long time. Knock it out, and that'll be a lot cheaper than having 4 or 5 or 6, right? So it just depends on you. It depends on how much recording you do, how quickly you get to those recordings. What do you do after you review the recording? Do you keep it? Do you get rid of it? That's going to determine a lot of how much storage space you really need. So just sharing this information for those folks who might want to upgrade their storage or thinking about how they're going to store their IQ recordings, especially where I find this usually happens are the folks that are trying to upgrade their SDR from like a lighter SDR to a more robust SDR that can do a wider bandwidth recording, so they need more room. This is where that conversation usually starts. I know it did for me. So some things to think about. I just saw Jacob mention here he hadn't had an external hard drive crash yet. Ditto. I've been lucky so far. So we'll continue to hopefully row down that road and not have any problems. Hopefully, we shall see. All right, let's talk about eSkip, because we actually had some eSkip. And I'm not surprised. I mean, it's not unprecedented to see eSkip in November. What I am surprised about is the sustainability that we're seeing here. So, for instance, this is the FM list log map from November 1st. And so you can see this was mainly an East Coast thing. Actually, it was almost entirely East Coast. Although our friend Bill up here in Nebraska, as he always does, because he has an amazing setup, did get in the action as well from his location. But you see here New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, this area here, hearing down just to my east. We were just outside of this one. I was really hopeful. I was seeing a lot of Biloxi's and Alabamas and things like that. I was hoping that we were going to get in on the action, but we were just outside of this one. And then we get to November 2nd. Okay, so this is now 2 days out of 2 with E activity. We see a nice big cluster here from Mexico up into New Mexico, Arizona, and places like that. So this is Fernando. Forget his last name. Apologize, man. He gets some really good stuff that a lot of us never ever see because he just happens to be down there where those clouds are at. And we also had some stuff. Now this one was a little closer, still right around me. Now this one was just a little bit too far to the west, but we had Detroit and Chicago hearing down here into Louisiana and parts of Texas as well. So that's now again 2 days out of 2 with E's. Now we took a couple of days here where we didn't have anything here on the 3rd. Nothing on this one. And then we also had the 4th, which was also empty. Nothing happening. Actually, we did have Chipley, Florida, had a couple. Now, these might have been E's. These also might have been meteor scatter. We are in the middle of the torrids right now. I think pretty near the peakish time for the torrids, which are pretty substantial FM meteor scatter events. So some of these might have been meteor scatter. I don't know. I never second guess a DXer's judgment. So we get to the 5th, and now we've got some good East Coast stuff going on down here, down in the Florida, from New York, New Jersey, our friend Nick Langan up in Tabernacle, Richard here in Jersey Shore, PA, and then from Florida up into Cape Cod and Boston and that kind of area. So again, nice East Coast opening. And after they got skunked in 2024, guys, so let them get caught up because there were a lot of us that were getting DX in 2024. Even as bad as it was, we were still getting DX that they just weren't getting in the East Coast. Again, the 6th, here we had an off date. So that's 2 days so far without DX. And then we get to the 7th and we have some more here. So the thing that surprised me so far about this is not that we're getting E's, because again, E's in November is not unprecedented. It's the sustainability here. It's that we're seeing day after day after day of at least something. it is kind of like an early May where it's like trying to get something going. Now, keep in mind what's happening right now on the southern hemisphere. They're heading for peak. They're heading for their big peak of the year. Hopefully, I haven't checked in with our friend down in Australia to see how he's doing with his FM E-skip this year, but hopefully they're seeing a much better year than they did last year. Because if that's the case, then that tells me that they're getting caught up with where we were this summer. And if we're seeing some residual spillover here, which is, I don't know if that's the case, but we do get our winter late after Christmas, January thing right there at their peak, right at the peak of E-skip season in the southern hemisphere. We get an opening right up here in the northern hemisphere, usually somewhere around Christmas, week after Christmas, New Year's, first week or two of January. We get something usually up in northern hemisphere. Maybe we're already starting to see that ramp up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe the Taurids are doing this, and we have enough residual energy left in the ionosphere that this meteor dust that we're getting from the Taurids, because it's an active period, we're seeing some of this east. I don't know. We don't know. We don't know what causes this stuff, but I'm encouraged that we're seeing this activity here in November. Really kind of continuing the trend of what we saw in the summer, which was some smaller openings, yes. And some isolated openings in that you guys are going to get it, but you're not going to get it over here, right? We're seeing some of that here as well, which we saw a lot of that in the summertime. But we're seeing repetitiveness. We're seeing things consistently showing up. That's the key for me. As long as it's showing up, I'm feeling better about where things are at. So. Nothing for us here on the sporadic E. We've missed out, as I know, not a lot of us have missed out here, but for those who did, we celebrate for them. We blow the horn of victory because, hey, DX for one is DX for all of us, because eventually it'll be your DX. May not be today, but eventually it will be your DX. All right, we're going to take a look. Speaking of FM, we're going to take a look here. We're going to take a look at the Tropo forecast in the next hour because it's cooking. We got something cooking tonight, and it's on the high end of the scale, which is encouraging. We also have more shout-outs to get to in this next hour as well. But I want to spend some time DXing because I haven't had a lot of time to DX this week, and I like DXing. So if you have a frequency you want us to check out, let us know in the chat. This live DX session brought to you by the International Radio Club of America, IRCAonline.org. And that reminds me, looking at our little window here, let's see where we are from a solar standpoint. Old Sol's been getting going this week. CME, head our way. We're right now sitting at a negative 8.1 Bravo Zulu. That's a good thing. A index of 32. That's a good thing. A K index of 3. That's a good thing. These are all very good numbers. These are numbers that I like to see. A negative Bravo Zulu and a pretty big negative number. 8.1. That's pretty nice. 32A index and a 3K. Those are good numbers. And for those of you who might be wondering what I'm looking at, I mean, you can see it here on the screen above my head, but we're also looking at this guy right here. The solar terrestrial indices, as they used to say on WWV, 18 past the hour. Let me tell you, before the internet, that was my lifeline. I checked it every single hour, especially when conditions were like this, where we had high index and K index. I was like, all right, where's the K now? Where's the K now? Is it up? Is it down? What's it doing? I was sitting there on 15 megs, 10 megs, 18 past the hour, listening to those terrestrial indices back in the day. All right. We are sitting right now. We've been, our last hour, we did 840. Let's just do a really quick scan. I know we kind of do this a lot when we do DX sessions, but with the indices where they are, let's just do a quick scan of our southern stuff down South America way and see how Colombia and Ecuador and some of those are coming in. So let's do that really quick. We're going to do just a quick check. Let's start with 910. There you go, Rick. Don't worry, David. We're going to get to some more of the... I'm just going back through and getting caught up on the chat here. Yeah, see, Gaz mentions the FM small winter e-skip season around the solstice. We had one first week of January 2 years ago, 2024, I think it was, which was a dreadful year, but January was nice. We got Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. Really nice couple days of openings in January that year. All right, I'm pretty sure one of these is going to be San Andres y Providencia, which used to be RACNA, now it's La FAMA. Let's go look at 1510.
We'll take today's trends and headlines and ask, why does history keep repeating itself? Each week, I'm calling up my friends like Bill Nye, Lily Singh, and Pete Buttigieg to talk about everything from the space race to psychedelics. You're a citizen of Earth, now. My goal here is...
David's got Columbia fighting Chicago on 1,000. That's encouraging.
Go against Caltech September.
What's this? Hold up. It's pretty WLAC at this point.
YRefi.com.
Here's interesting.
That's the letter Y, REFY.com.
I just saw this on the Rabbit Ears map.
Okie dokie. Today's question comes from Nikki in Nebraska. She said,
Milford, Illinois, hearing WWOZ auto-logged. About, 10 minutes ago? And that's, I mean, I don't know what their local market it would be, but if they're hearing WWOZ, that's pretty solid. I mean, that's a good powered station. It gets out pretty well. Here we go. That's what I was trying to do. It is our default station here on our web server. But when you know it, I'm not getting RDS. I bet you I know why. Yeah, I got to restart my receiver. That's why I'm not getting RDS. After a while, sometimes I've noticed it stops decoding RDS for whatever reason. If you leave your TEF web server on too long, it just stops decoding for some reason. So I'll keep an eye on that. We do have a little bit of the FM Tropo starting to kind of get going here. From our location, I'll give you our decoders here. This is our S antenna. What it's seeing right now, here is our 62-foot high omnidirectional. It's getting down here into the Gulf Coast a bit. We're seeing Bay City. We're seeing just south of Houston and Galveston there and KOVE. I would expect this as we go further into the night to start to drift even further south. Looking at the Tropo forecast, we might have a chance to get down here this evening, which would be sweet. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. And then here's our 21-foot dipole. You see the KROI. That's a Seabrook KROI here. So signal is starting to come in here on the FM side a bit. So we'll be doing some of that looking here a little later on in the show tonight on FM. So not a really big signal here out of Ecuador, but let's try getting rid of LAC and see if we even hear him in here at all. Probably not a bad idea, Dennis, and I think that is Ecuador there that we're hearing. Sounds like them. That sounds like that might be them. I'd have to pull their website up to do a direct match, but that sounds very on brand for them. You guys have any frequencies you want us to hit? Throw those in the chat. We'll do it. I'm just double checking here. Yeah, it really does. Mike, sounds like their stuff. I think someone said it was either 1370 or 1470 earlier. Rick wants 920. Let's go to 920. Now, historically, traditionally, what we have here is Little Rock, Arkansas, with sports, but we are facing south. Southeast. We can actually pull that here if we go up to our shortwave central Kiwi. That one is still facing north-northwest. So we're going to do that really quick.
In a Acadian ambulance and doctor.
Whatever.
There they are.
They're both enough. Let's just hope they never sit down and do a podcast together.
So that's what Little Rock is pulling right now.
This is Draymond for apologizing. You haven't heard from Dak, the Cowboys, or Sports. You know, he's going to fire. What Draymond says, Dak's saying nothing.
Is there a Cuban on 920 to try for? Not really. Let's look at the station list here. There is a Progresso outlet, but it's a weak one. There is a station in Mexico here, XERE. So we'll keep that up and available so we can check it for targets. If I had to guess who this is right here beating up, I would say WGKA Atlanta. Maybe the Patriot in Texas City, maybe. Oh yeah, it's probably these guys, WDMC. Divine Mercy Radio in Melbourne, Florida. That's a pretty good bet for who we're hearing here. That sounds almost religious content. Jacob mentions Chile's carrier on 759 is giving it a go here tonight. We're going to have to see if we can do that. I need to get my north-south CAS back up. I've got to do that. I got to get that back up and running.
DX Central Live, top of the hour alert.
Top of the hour time means we are looking for IDs. We're going to hit record here on the Southeast CAS here on 920 and a big chunk of the band. We're going to go mic off as we listen for IDs here. We actually haven't even gotten to Santa Rosa here in Mandeville, I don't think. Maybe right after we moved. Let me double check. I might be wrong about that. Where is KSTP? You know what? They used to be a lot louder here. Let me see if I have them on our north antennas or our mini whip. Let's just check real quick. Here's the northwest. There we go. There they are. And that's about as loud as they get. When I tell you, this is on this antenna though, and the Kiwi. When I tell you Minnesota is like crazy hard here for no reason. And that's on our northern antenna. I don't know who that is with the operatic music there. Still coming in on our southeast. Ooh, man, that sounds much clearer on the mini whip. Oh, that's probably who that is. It's Formula Mexico City. That's probably who that is. We get FED every once in a while here. I haven't heard to be CCO in a very long time, which is just crazy. I think they did change transmitter stuff recently, right, Jacob? But they're very rare here now, honestly. Let me get rid of this slop from LAC. I'm assuming that that's who this operatic stuff is Mexico City. So there we go. Yeah, that's I haven't heard. I didn't finish checking that, did I? We did have WDMC in their ID on 920. By the way, that's the little bling that we did was 920 WDMC in Melbourne, Florida, which is what I thought we were getting there with the religious stuff. You asked about Santa Rosa here in Mandeville. If we've heard it, I want to say we did like several years ago. But they haven't been very regular here. Even on a good Latin South America night, I don't usually see that offset here. Which is weird. Heard them on, let's see, that's August 28th, 2022. Weak audio, nice hat with their offset at 1499.7435 at the time. Now they're up above on .135, right? So they kind of move around a bit, but yeah, I did hear them, but that's not common to be heard here. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a bit about Jaguar. This has been a requested topic from quite a few of you about how do you use Jaguar? How does this thing work? Like the UI is completely different from what we're used to with AirSpy and SDR console and some of the others. So we're going to look into that here in a little bit as we get into this hour, and we'll get to more of your shout outs and more. So don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is heading your way right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
dreaming about new radios down at the hardware store. A big old antenna, all the gear that I adore. But these things ain't worth much if they cause a marital strife. So here I am, honey, asking for a blessing from my wife.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
To voices from afar, but I know our budget's tighter than a banjo string. Still, I thought I'd ask you, let's see what this might bring. Oh, darling, can you see the sparkle in my eye when I hear that static crackle and those voices flying by? It's a hobby, it's a passion, like your garden's green as sage. So let's go hunt the bargains and live in the radio age.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana.
Think about the memories, tuning in those distant lands.
We bring you live DX-related conversation, how-tos, tips, tricks, your shout-outs, and more. Speaking of your shout-outs, I want to get to some more of those before we do our next topic here. So, what does that mean? That means we're doing a little this right here.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM to C to C. We celebrate the ones who snag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout outs making waves today.
Yeah. Let's get back on the list here, picking up where we left off last hour with our friend Carl DeWitt up in Tennessee. Carl's got a new log this week, KHMO 1070, Hannibal, Missouri, bringing his AM total now to 1,023. That's what he says here, 1023. Well done, my friend. NS Norfolk Chuck says he has an 8-element end of antenna. What garbage? Really? I've got their 4-element log periodic, man, and it's worked gangbusters. So it's been really, really good for that whole broadband recording that we do on the ELAT. It's worked really, really well. So surprised to hear that not a fan of the NF, because their quality is usually pretty good. Congratulations, Carl, on the new one there, man. Next up we have Kaz Ross in the chat, and a legend in the DX community. I wouldn't have probably half the logs that I do if it wasn't for this guy. His antenna design, the Kaz antenna, is Jeff's kiss, man. New this week is 1620 XECGCSU down in Mexico. This is recently new Mexican on 1620. I wouldn't even try to pronounce that. Did you name? 970 WEZZ in Canton, North Carolina. It used to be, what was their call letters back when PTL. WPTL in Canton used to be their call letters when I lived there. I lived right next to Canton in Clyde, North Carolina for a while. 1350. We competed against that station when I was at Clear Channel. I was at 1400 the peak. WHKP or WPEK, I think it was. No. The Waynesville was to be MXF. That's right. 1400 to be MXF, 1400 the peak. Waynesville. That was my station I was at. I was assistant program director, and I can't remember the damn call letters. We competed against the Canton station. So there you go. All that was unnecessary, but just a memory was triggered. 1350 WHIP in Mooresville, North Carolina. 1350 WRKM in Carthage, Tennessee, logged this evening. And 1260 WPJF Greenville, NC, Radio Vida, logged tonight. Likely day power at night. So our friend Kaz has got the hookup on the Carolinas, which is awesome. So we're going to get you the Latin American log here from Mexico. And here we go. We got the logs in the North Carolinas. Wachochi? Did I get that right? Wachochi? 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 There's probably a little of a hua in there. Yeah, that was what Mexico Mike was telling us. There are some letters in there, in those call letters that signify what kind of station it is, if it's like a cultural station or whatever. So there you go. Well done, Kaz, my friend. And Dennis Bannister next up on the list here in Virginia. Dennis got a nice haul as well here. WZOX 1660 in Kalamazoo, Michigan. WELM 1410 Elmira, New York. West Virginia coming in from Canova and Weirton on 1420 WBWV and 1430 WEIR. Coffeyville, Kansas, only his second Kansas log, KGGF 690. Man, I would love to find a way to make them go away. I'm over here talking about a station that my homie just logged, but I already have a local on 690, and when I finally get rid of them, there's GGF. It's just like, oh. And then if I get rid of them, it's Mexico. Lots and lots of that. KXIC 660 Waverly, Ohio, and WXRH 580 Rockwood, Tennessee. Used to be WOFE when I was in Brasstown. I remember those call letters too. Well done, man. Let's get you the Horn of Victory and some log saws. There you go. All right. So you've got plenty of time to get your shout outs in. Just go to dxchallenges.com/shoutout and you can get yours in and we'll read it here on the air. And a little bit later, we'll let you know some of the stuff that we've heard recently, because I think it's been a while since we did ours and we had a couple new ones this week. So we'll be relaying what we've heard, which isn't much, but it's something. All right. Much requested, much maligned in some circles. Let's talk about Jaguar. So Jaguar is a piece of software for the AM radio band specifically. There we go. Let's get that down there. It's specifically for AM. It's not built. You can do shortwave with it, but it's really it's an AM DX tool. So other SDR software that's out there, it's more agnostic. It's there for whatever you might be DXing, whether it's FM or shortwave or ham radio or long wave or medium wave or whatever. As long as the SDR can handle it, the SDR console, HD SDR, the software can handle it. This is tuned specifically for AM DXers, and there's a couple reasons why. And it was developed by our friends up in Europe. I don't remember the exact country. I know IPA is, I think, in was he in Italy? I don't remember. But it's our friends over in Europe who are. You think we're great about AMDX? You think we're hardcore? These folks are hardcore AMDXers and FMDXers too. They are hardcore in the DX. It's why I tell people, like when we talk about eSkip, I'm going on a tangent here. When we talk about eSkip over in Europe being so much more active than what we see over here, sometimes it's the conditions. A lot of times it's the conditions, but it's also the amount of DXers. There are far more DXers in Europe, AM and FM, than there are in the US. That's just a fact. That's an absolute fact. So they developed this piece of software over there in Europe to assist AM DXers by basically giving them everything that you need all at your disposal. And they specifically tethered and paired this software to be used with the Perseus because, at least at the time, the Perseus was the thing. It was, if you were going to get an SDR, this is what you used. It was like the professional SDR, right? Other than like the Win radios and some of those like really expensive ones. The Perseus was the one, especially for AM DXers. Perseus was the one. So they put all this together and they put a bunch of features in here. Now, they didn't design it like an SDR program because it's not an SDR program. It's not. It's a user interface to be able to AMDX while using the Perseus. So the sooner you can kind of get that concept kind of drilled in, you'll understand what we're talking about when we look at Jaguar. It's not an SDR program. It's not. SDR console, HD SDR, SDR Sharp, these are SDR programs. This is not an SDR program. It's a piece of software that lets you DX AM while using an SDR. That's the difference. It's just a different mindset. So once you do that, you'll start to kind of see how all this is kind of bolted together. So when you come in to the interface here, the UI, this is what you're going to see. You'll probably actually see this more than likely. This screen right here that we're looking at, this is traces. It's offsets. So each one of these little vertical matrix looking traces that we see here, this is a radio station. This is a signal. And so you can get this is why I got into Jaguar, because you can get very granular with these carriers. So these offsets, because I wanted to start DXing known offsets. So if I go down, for instance, here, let's go to 780. Okay. There was Radio Viva would normally be in here. It's not. Okay. But you'll see these different offsets. Let's go to
put on probation automatic.
There's some good offsets. Each of these is an offset that we're looking at here, right? It's an individual radio station. You can also view, and this is how I usually do my DXing, you can view a map. Because I like to visually see, especially if I know which antenna I'm using and where it's pointing, I like to visually kind of see what stations are in that path, because then I can kind of, in my mind, I can start to see and kind of rule out who it may or may not be. Okay. So when I'm DXing Jaguar, 9 times out of 10, I'm in this map, and this is under the maps area. And then once you're in the maps area, you have different maps that you can use here. There's a South America map. There's a Central America map. There's a North America map. There's Oceania, Asia, Africa, and Europe. But we're going to just start here in North America because that's where we are. So which interface you use and how you're doing your DX is going to really depend on where you land in your comfort level. It's going to be usually most US, especially DXers, it's going to be either this one, if you're looking at those offsets and you're wanting to kind of get granular, or this one, if you're wanting to like actually see all the different stations that are on here. And you can, yes, keep this up to date. This is using data from Medium Wave List and I think a couple other sources. I just downloaded the November version of this file, so this should be an up-to-date list. Not always. Sometimes there's some discrepancies, but it's rare. And I can actually see that list up here. There's a button that says slider. If I hit that button, now I can actually see the list of all the stations. Okay. And then I like to keep my stuff organized so I can visually, since I'm looking at this visually anyway, I mark when I hear a station and I mark it in white. Now you can mark it whatever color you want. I mark it in, because there's a couple different options. Oops. For instance, if I hit here, you can do red, you can do black, you can do blue, you can do green. It defaults to yellow. Yellow is like what it's going to normally show. So I would choose one of the other colors to signify like if you've heard it or not. And that way, that if it's in yellow, I know I haven't got it yet. And so if I'm hearing a station and it's in yellow, that means I need it. That's one of the ways that I kind of know what I've already heard. And I've gone through and I've made sure that I've updated this based on my logbook, so everything should be accurate. And you'll also see that up here in the station list, you'll see the stuff that's in white. Those are the ones that I've heard. The ones that are in yellow. Those are the ones I have not heard. Right. So I got some work to do on 860. It looks like, especially out east. So how do we hear stuff? Well, when you pull up SDR, when you pull up Jaguar, rather, you're going to see this green bar down here at the bottom. That green bar is a time slider. So you know how in SDR Sharp, when we look at like the file broadband player, we have that little window that we can have. It looks like a heat map almost, and you have the top of it, and then that's the earlier time, and then you go down to the bottom, that's your later time in the file, and you can kind of click anywhere in there on your frequency and change from earlier in the file to later on, just or whatever. You can bounce around the time. The same thing down here at the bottom, with the exception of this is an 8-minute window. This is looking at 8 minutes at a time. And so if I record 4 hours of sunrise or sunset recording, It's going to record the whole time, the whole 4 hours, but it's going to do so in little 8-minute clusters, little 8-minute files. And so if I look at, this is a list of all the 8-minute files that it's recorded tonight. Okay. So you'll see here, that's just a list of all my files. So I can go look at any of those files. Here for me, there are a lot of really great pieces of SDR software out there. But for me as an AM DXer, I've talked about this so many times, and I actually did a video where I begged SDR manufacturers and software developers to do this as well. And no one's really caught on to it yet, but I'm going to say this again. The biggest feature for me that makes Jaguar worth it is the time bar down here at the bottom, and that it's always recording. It's always recording. So right now, as I'm talking to you, Jaguar is recording the entire AM band right now. Now, it's doing so as an 8-minute file. At the end of that 8 minutes, it will go back and overwrite the previous file, and so on and so on and so on. Unless I jump in here and I say, whoa, keep that. I can hit the record button, and it'll keep that part that I've already recorded, and it'll keep recording. And it's doing so over the entire AM band. But that one feature, man, I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting at here in my shack at my desk. Maybe I'm working on a website or doing something off to the side. And then all of a sudden I hear something, and I got my headphones on, I hear an ID. And I'm like, wait, what did he say? I can go over here to my little time slider down here in the bottom that's in green, and I can go back and find that location on this time slider and play it from there and hear what they said. And if it's something that I want to keep or something new, I can then hit record, and now that green changes to red, and now everything that has been recording is kept. And I get my ID out of it. How many times have you been sitting at an SDR listening and you hear an ID, but you weren't recording? And then you're like, oh, I got to scramble real quick to hit record. Happens to me all the time. All the time. I'm like, wait, what? What was that? AZQ, what? This fixes that. And this is why I've been so begging SDR developers, software developers, to please figure this out and how to do this on all of our SDR programs. And I don't want Jaguar to lose a competitive advantage. I don't think, it's something that they would really probably care about, because they're kind of so niche here with AM DXers. But anyone who DXs any kind of DX at all has run into this issue. FM, AM, shortwave, ham radio. Someone's run into this issue at some point in their SDR recording or their review of DX that they're doing. And like, wait, what did you say? So you can either always be recording yourself and accumulating these very large files and have to go back and manually delete them, or you can just use this. And that's what I wish everyone else would do. So that's the big thing for me here. Is down here is this green slider. This is your time area. Right above that, you're going to see these little dots. The dots are frequencies. Each one of those is a frequency. Now, right now, we're in 10 kilohertz split mode, so it's every 10 kcs. If I go over here and I click 9 right here, now I'm going to see every 9 kc, right? And so there's going to be some here, these little dots you see. That's where the 9 and the 10 kilohertz splits line up, where there's US stuff there. And anything that you see the gap in the middle, that's because there's no signal there. If there was a signal, you would see a dot dimly first, and then more pronounced, like you see here with these other dots, you would see a dot there. That tells you there's a carrier there, right? That tells you on these 9 kilohertz splits, is there even anything coming out I need to worry about? You can see it. It's right there. There's another place to see it. We'll look at that here in a minute. But I'm going to go back to my 10 kilohertz. And so each one of these dots, that tells me there is a signal, a strong one, on that frequency. If I go up here to, like, let's say 1610, and let's say the 1610 dot, it actually is a little dim right there. That means there's a signal, but it's not super strong. Right next to it, 1600, super strong, right? So it's a full solid yellow. This one's a little more opaque, a little more gray, it's got a little more opacity to it. It's a little more grayish. So you can do that. If you want to get to different frequencies, you can go click on the dot corresponding with the frequency you want to go to. That's one way of doing it. You can also, right here in the middle, you'll see your frequency right here. I've got my mouse pointer. I've got my scroll wheel on my mouse. I can just scroll up. I can scroll down and I can change frequencies that way. And that's one way you can do that. You'll see the time, the date over here. You'll see the time over here. That's going to be important in a minute. So just remember that. Here's your hour, minute, second, year, month, day. It does use UTC time. So if you're not used to that, that will be an adjustment for you. Everything is in UTC here. Everything's going to be UTC. So if you're already doing UTC, you're fine. So let me show you how I basically do it. So let's say I'm going to go DX. I'm going to sit on 920 like we did earlier, and we're going to DX. So how I would normally DX is I would have my station list pulled up here. My map is here, and I'm looking, and I know I'm pointing, this antenna right now is pointing west. So I'm probably looking at stuff out in this general area out here. And so this button right here in the middle, the play button,
San Antonio.
That's going to allow me to listen. If I push it, if I click on the pause button and I turn off my audio, it's still recording. It's still doing its thing, but I've muted the audio, so I don't have to listen to it. So if you're in live mode and you hit the pause button, it's like hitting mute on your SDR. So that's one thing you'll want to keep in mind. In live mode, there's a couple things you will want to do. You will change your frequency, and you can go backwards in time in the context of that 8-minute kind of DVR recording that you're sitting on. You can go backwards and forwards in time anywhere within the file that it's already recorded. So even if I'm over here reviewing something going on earlier in that recorded file, it's still recording at the top end. You'll see this green bar is continuing to get bigger up here. It's still recording that 8-minute file, and it's doing so for the entire AM band. So I can then also go down to 910 or 900. It's still doing the exact same thing on, all those frequencies. It's recording all of those, the entire AM band all at once, no matter where I am on a particular frequency or in a particular point in time on that frequency. Make sense? So in live mode, as long as this green bar down here is green, that means right now it's recording, but it's only recording on that one file that it's going to overwrite at the end of this 8 minutes. So when it gets over here to the far right, and this area right here, if it gets all the way to the end and it comes back to the beginning, you just lost that file. It's gone. You have 8 minutes to decide if you want to keep it or not. So it's going to be gone here in about, I guess about a little less than 4 minutes. This will go away, and it'll start a new one. But in the meantime, while it's still recording, I can jump to any point within what it's already recorded. All right? Making sense so far? Another thing that you'll want to know about Jaguar is the audio, what you actually hear. And this, for me, was a big deal when I first started using Jaguar, especially. A little bit less so now, but when I first jumped into Jaguar, this made all the difference in the world. They've actually gone in and created presets that are tuned for AM radio. So these presets, where other SDR programs, you have to kind of adjust with EQ and bandwidth and all these other different things. You have to adjust your audio a little bit to get it to sound right. Jaguar's already got it. Jaguar is built to be audio-wise tuned for AM radio. So I'm going to give you an example here what I'm talking about. Let me go to, trying to think of a good music station that I can find here for us. 1070 would be a good one if I can pull them in here from Memphis.
Save enough money to light.
Okay. So this is your area right in here where we're going to control our audio and our bandwidth. So you'll see right here, it says Calliope right here. If I click on that, I've also got, I've got AM here. I've got stock and I've got jazz. You're gonna find the naming conventions are like wonky. They call things what they want to call them. It's their program. They can call it whatever they want. Once you just go in here and figure out what it is, you'll just know, okay, I'm looking at jazz. I would rather be on, like, I prefer Calliope. That's the one that seems to work the best for me. But each one of these is a slightly different presentation of the audio. So when you see, for instance, stock, that is a little bit closer to what you would normally find on a regular SDR program. It's a little more, it's more, it's like that telephone notch filter. I know what it is. It's very, very block narrow. You can go really steep with it because you have this button next to it here. Next to your audio filter, you see different options. Depending on which one you're on over here, you may or may not see some options here. But right now, this is called the filter curve. And so the curve is like how sharp are the lines on the EQ curve. So right now we're in bass, so it's kind of like, oh. And then you've got steep, so it's like almost like a square wave. And then you've got studio, which is a little more rounded, but still not as rounded as bass. Bass is usually your most rounded. Then you've got jazz. Some people prefer the jazz preset. Some people prefer Calliope. For 5 years, I've been using Calliope, and it's worked well. Every once in a while, I'll try. If I'm having a hard time pulling a call sign out, I'll go to jazz, and maybe it works a little bit better. But usually I'm on Calliope, but try to see what works best for you. So you have jazz and you have bass, steep, and studio for jazz. You've got Calliope here. You've got bass, steep, and studio for those as well. For your, again, that's changing your curve of your audio. And then you've got AM, which is just wide AM. It's just normal AM set. There's no synchronous detection here. There's none of that. It's just AM. And then the Calliope, jazz, and stock, they're also AM, but they're a little more narrow. They're reducing the bandwidth. The AM mode is wide, very, very wide. The Calliope and these others start off pretty narrow. Now you can adjust that, but they start off usually pretty narrow. There is a lower and upper sideband. You'll see it over here. There's an upper sideband and lower sideband. There's no synchronous detection. There's no binaural mode. You got lower, you got upper sideband. There's no DSB. You've got lower, upper sideband. That's it. Right next to it is your AGC on, AGC off, and there's an AGC plus, which actually just locks in whatever the current gain is. So these two buttons right here, the lower sideband, upper sideband, I use those on this side. These buttons over here, I use those two the most. Upper sideband, lower sideband, and AGC on or off. On this set of buttons over here, you've got your audio preset. I usually just stick with Calliope, and I'm usually in the bass. It usually works most of the time for me. Then you've got this BW. This is your bandwidth. So if you click on it, it's going to expand your bandwidth. So if I'm going to go over here, I'm widening out my bandwidth. Super wide. Now I'm going to shrink it. I'm going to right click. This tightens your bandwidth. I'm usually somewhere around 3.1-ish. And you can get nice and tight down to 1.0, and you can make that super steep on your curve to get real tight in there. Okay? But I usually keep it around 3.1. That's normally where I find myself. I see Barry says, I wasn't crazy about the audio quality with the native Perseus software. One of the main reasons why I wanted to go to Jaguar was the audio was so much better. Absolutely. You can, on like SDR console, SDR sharp, on some of those programs, if you're using like an AirSpy or whatever, or if you're using the Perseus and SDR console, you can use the EQ and some other bandwidth tweaks and things like that to get the audio better. But it comes like that here in Jaguar. It's tuned for AM. It's got a nice full sound. And call letters really, I can't explain it. Call letters and talking sticks out more in Jaguar than it does in other SDR programs that I've used. They've gone in with this audio, which I can actually show you their little audio slider that they have here. You'll see here where it's the bottom where it says slider. If you click on that, it gives you the audio. This is actually the audio waveform of the received signal that I'm on right now on 1070. So you'll see here, it's kind of going up and down as we do. And then so it actually marks, if I remember, where is it? It used to mark in here. there used to be a little thing in here that it marked like male and female, where like a deeper male voice would be compared to a higher frequency female voice. So depending on what you had, if you had a female or male talking, it would actually kind of point that out on the audio spectrum here. And you could actually see where that was peaking on the audio. I guess they've taken that out, but which makes sense. But the preset, the filter curve, the bandwidth, those are the ones. And I don't really play with those a whole lot, to be honest with you. But if you're needing to, for whatever reason, that's where you would play with those. And every once in a while, if I'm trying to get down on a particular offset or get rid of some adjacent channel splatter, things like that, I might play with those a little bit. This offset right here is from the nominal frequency that you're on. So right now it says 1070. My audio is slightly off of that. It's at 0.3. I find that helps. A negative 0.3, which I'm doing by doing the right click. A negative 0.3 is also good. Or the positive 0.3. So you're either 3 tenths off the nominal or 3 tenths above the nominal. I find that helps in especially graveyards, getting off the rumble a little bit and giving you a little more headroom for call signs to peek through. That's one of the things that I can kind of see a benefit from Jaguar. Jacob mentions, I like having a waterfall to watch when DXing an SDR. I zoom way in so I can see carrier offsets in a low frequency modulation on a target station, or an offset is becoming invisible. There you go. That is what this is. Now, this is super zoomed in. Granted, it is. This is the offset view. With this home button right here, that's what's going to show you your spectrum. Now, there is a way, and it's been a while since I've done this, so bear with me while I remember how to do this, because I don't do this very often. There is a way to zoom in and out on this, so you can go out further, and you can actually see, like, 1070, 1080, 1090, 1100. You can do that on here. I just forgot how to do it, because I don't play with it much. Oh, here it is over here, zoom. So I can zoom in, and then I can right-click to zoom out. And there you see, there's 1080, there's 1090, so forth. So it's going to give me all those different frequencies here. That's as far out as it'll zoom. That is one little bit of an aspect about Jaguar that I'm about, is that is the zoomability, and the range that I have within this zoom is not super helpful sometimes. Now, if I'm just down here and I'm just checking offsets, it's fine, especially if they're pretty close to the nominal frequency. But if you have one of those that's like dot, let's see, this is over here is .08. But if you have one, let's say like 1070.3, it's a little like, this is .21, this is .3, like over here will be .3 on the very far edge. So you get some of those South American offsets that are like way off. It can be a little tricky. It can be a little tricky to see them on this offset view because it doesn't have that zoom to that level. So that can be a little frustrating sometimes. But if you're looking a little bit closer, and like you're talking about, Jacob, where you can get kind of closer in and see those offsets kind of individually, especially zoomed way in, Jaguar has the best presentation I've ever seen for those really close in offsets. And it has for you right here the offset information, and it has the power, daytime, nighttime, format, notes from like medium wave lists, things like that. So it gives you all that station information. So I can, if I'm over here, I'm like, okay, I know there's got to be who's this offset here at pick one, .9. Those are all really close. At .952. Here we go. I've got an offset here at .952 on 1069.952. Who is that? Oh, crap. That's Brazil. How likely is it I'm hearing them? Well, they're 10 kilowatt and 250 watts. So maybe if they're on that 10 kilowatt, right? So that kind of stuff can help you narrow down what station you're hearing. Using the station list, I use it all the time. Your maps, things like that. So depending on if you're like Jacob and you want to look at the offsets, if you're like me and I'm using the map to visually kind of help me, I'll I'll sometimes pop over to the offsets when I need to for those situations where that's kind of needed. But I'm usually over here in the map section is when I'm usually doing my majority of my DX. Recordings. How do you do this? So I've got recording. So there's a little button over here in the bottom right hand corner. It looks like a file folder. So I just click that and then I go to my recordings and you'll see here's my recordings that I have. And so I'm just going to go pull up one here from the 4th. And I'm going to hit OK and open it. And you see how it just did that with the Grayline? Here's your time in UTC. Here's your date, UTC. Here's your frequency. And it's going to show you at the time that recording was done, where was your Grayline? I cannot tell you how helpful this is. This is so helpful. I use, especially if I'm running like a long recording over a span of time during Grayline. Yeah, this is super, super helpful. And I'm going to show you here in a second how to do the recording part, how to actually set that up. But you can see as I go through, it moves that Grayline as I'm moving through the file. And not only, let me get rid of those. Not only can I zoom through that file pretty fast, as you kind of saw, I'm kind of like looking. Now, I can also go down here. I've got next to my pause button, I've got a right arrow or a left arrow and a right arrow. If I go right arrow, it's going to go to the next file in the sequence that it sees in the hard drive, which is now 23. Here's 1 and 26. Now we're going 8 minutes at a time.
What people are experiencing.
Now, what you're also going to notice is kind of hard to see right now. Right here in the middle is a little arrow. Sometimes the arrow's over here. Sometimes it's over here. It depends on where the file started. That little arrow tells me it's right there at the top of the hour. I also have that same arrow right here for bottom half of the hour. But let me find one here. This was one of those I was doing a long recording. I was doing a continuous, so it's just going across. But here you'll see, here's the arrow over here. So that's my top of the hour. So I can go zoom right up to right before that top of the hour, and you'll see where the time is. Here it's at 59:35, so you can kind of find where you want to be on that recording right there at the top of the hour, and you can use that to say, okay, let me hear what I got.
Failed to protect users from foreseeable danger. Targeted children. Enforced into now to find out.
1070W. One stop for advertising? Call 844-844-IHEART. Still your goodwill and good time station. 1070WDIA. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio.
And there's the ID. See how quickly that I was able to get to that? Super fast. And you can go through those files pretty fast and say, okay, let me see what I had the hour before that. So I go to the hour before that.
Priority. And next day delivery and running. Are debt payments keeping you? Engage you one word. And remember, more we can help you save. Act now. If you owe
credit repair services. Some not just like listen to Wayfinder on America Today.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now.
This happens like 8 extension. We're working it.
I might have missed it.
Credit card.
Fled. They agreed to read the filibuster to end the government.
Yeah, I might have missed it. But you can see how easy it is to kind of move through that file. You can also, if I hover over, for instance, I hover over that date where it says 11/2. If I've got a bunch of files, I'm like, what was it yesterday at the same time or the day after? I can use my scroll wheel on my mouse and over the 02, I now go to 03. And it goes to the same frequency, same time, different day. And let's do the same thing, go to the 4th, 5th. I'm just going to the exact same time every day on all those different files, and I'm scrolling by just hovering over that. I can also do the same time last month. Let's say I've got a 10/6. Oh, I don't have a 10/6, I guess. But you can do that way. You can also scroll over your hour. So now I'm changing an hour at a time, or your minutes. I can change a minute at a time. I can change seconds. I can change that way as well. So that's another way that you can navigate through these files. You have different options. how do you set up the recording? Over here in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got a little settings cogwheel. So I click on that, and you'll see an option here for Mestor. Mestor is the recording interface. This is how you set up recordings, and it's so easy. It is so freaking easy, man. Let me show you what it is. You've got each one of these lines is you can set up different kinds of recordings. So I can set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different types of recordings that I want to do. So let's go to this first one to show you. You can do a continuous recording, so you can just say record continuously from this time to this time UTC. You can do a long sunrise thing. Say, okay, from the sunrise, I want to do from 30 minutes before sunrise, my local sunrise, to 30 minutes after my sunrise. And it'll just record the entire time between those times. And as your sunrise time shifts, it will shift that time. And it knows that because it has it all plugged in. You put your location in and everything. And so it'll shift that as the sunrise time changes. It'll keep going with it. And so you can run this all year long. You never have to touch it. It just does it. You can do sunrise long. You can do sunset long. You can do a recurring recording. So you can say, okay, from this time to this time in between these minutes and this minutes, do a recording. So you can say, I want to do it between, like, let's say 2100 UTC and 0900 UTC. You can do that. Probably easier way. These are called tops. So it's just the top of the hour. So dark tops means when we're saying, in this case, from 30 minutes before sunset to 30 minutes after sunrise, I want you to record from 58 after the hour to 08 after the hour. This is my one I use all the time. Dark tops. It's going to record a 10-minute window here. Okay. And it's only going to do it between 30 minutes before sunset to 30 minutes after sunrise. And it's going to record that top of the hour for every one of those. And again, it's going to adjust that as the year goes along, as your sunrise and sunset times change. I know we're getting close on top of the hour here. You can set up bottom of the hour if you'd rather do that. So you can say, okay, do one from 28 to 32. So if you can also do that way as well. Those are the main ones. There's some other options in here you can kind of play around with, but those are the ones that I typically do, is either a continuous sunset or sunrise long, if I'm wanting to do one particular Grayline period, a recurring one, or the dark tops. The dark tops is the one that I run. In fact, this one right here, this sunset minus 90 minutes to sunrise plus 30 minutes, 58 to 07. That is my dark tops that I'm running right now. So at night, it's always going to be recording top of the hour, and it's just going to continuously do that until I turn the program off. How do you do that? Well, let me show you. We're going to go over here and close this out and close this out. I could also have just clicked the cogwheel again. There's a little green button down here. The little green button tells me that I'm connected, I'm live, I'm active. Okay. How do you get to live mode? There's an L right here. If you click on this L, that takes you right back to live mode. So I was in that recording. It's just always going to stay in that recording until I tell it to do otherwise. I click on the L and it takes me right to the live moment. This little green button over here, if I click on that, that minimizes the program and keeps it up here at the top of my screen. You'll see I have a clock, my UTC clock, and then all I have to do to get that window back is I just click on this little red X right here, and bam, there it is. My program is back. If I want to shut it down and shut it off, and if I shut it down, it's not going to record. So if I go over here and I say shut down, it'll shut it down entirely. I just heard my Perseus click. Now it's not going to record top of the hour. And then all I have to do to get it back is just open up my program.
44.
And it connects. That's it. Those are some of the basics of Jaguar. There's some more advanced features we don't have time to kind of go into, like the YAS log, which is really, really cool. We can do that in a future episode. The conditions map for terrestrial conditions. That's pretty cool. There's some other maps in here as well that are pretty nice. So we'll talk more about those in a future episode. But right now, it's time for us to do some DX. And we're going to do... Let's see. You give me some frequencies, and we'll do some DX in here. Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and kick the top of the hour alert now.
DX Central Live Top of the Hour Alert.
This DX session brought to you by, it's not an FM, it's an AM session, but it's brought to you by the Spectrum Monitor, thespectrummonitor.com. That's where you want to go for more information about getting a subscription to the best darn radio magazine out there. Thank you, Kaz. Appreciate you being here, my friend. Hopefully that gets you helps get you started in the world of Jaguar. Ping me with any questions you have. I'm more than happy to help you out. I'll be doing a formal video on this. I promise I will. And then in a future, another week here, somewhere next week or whatever, we'll do some of the other advanced features. Because it is a pretty cool program. Matthew wants us to check 980. So we're going to go down here to 980 kilohertz and see what we got. Why are you not going? Oh, because I'm zoomed in. That's right. I forgot about that. So let's go to 980. And we're going to use our Jaguar here. To see what do we have. We've got Arkansas with classic rock. Don't think we're hearing them right now. We've got gospel from Perry, and we've got Rossville, Georgia. Don't think it's them. Got a couple stations in here. Could this be Radio Alleluia? AQUE? Probably. Down in Central America, we do have Radio Coco here in Cuba. Possibly could be them. And we do have a lot FAMA here in Colombia on 980 as well. So let's see who it is that we have here on 980. So is this Cuba, Mexico, or Colombia? Take care, Master Player. Adjusting my Vactrol here to try to get in on him here. All right, we're going mic off. Don't forget, here at the top of the hour, we got Tropo forecast to talk about. We've got some FMDX to look at. And our logs, our shout-outs. So stick around. right, so we know we had one of the stations that we heard was Radio Alleluia, KQUE. So we know that one for a fact. I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure the flute music is Radio Coco out of Cuba. I heard a station in there, Spanish talking and Spanish music. Wasn't Radio Alleluia. Had kind of a distorted audio like Cuba usually does. Their carriers are right on the dot, but their modulation sucks. I'm pretty sure that's who that is Radio Coco. See if I can do a little magic here. Go channel, cancel out that one. How bad do we miss the Key West Kiwi? In moments like this, I would have been all over the Key West Kiwi. That was what I used to find all my Cubans. It was amazing. And I also miss how good the Costa Rica Kiwi used to be. Like the couple of days it was up before it was down. Because now the AM band on that Kiwi is shot. Fully shot. So that's probably Cuba in there with that music that we were hearing. All right, let's take a look and see on here. Oops. On our this is our DX Central Kiwi here. We're on 980. And let's just see what we hear on the mini whip compared to the southeast antenna. Now let's go to the southeast. You hear that kind of dirty modulation? That's probably Cuba. I'd almost be willing to make you a bet that's Cuba. And finally, our shortwave Central Kiwi. Let's see what we got. Around the corner over here. Did some maintenance on that antenna this week. It was there was a big tree branch on the on one of the ends of the antenna on the, I guess that's the north end of the antenna. There was a big, huge tree branch on it. It stretched it out a little bit, stretched the wire out just a little bit. So I got that off of there and then went back up and re-taut up the wire and everything. So it's nice and good shape now.
Beautiful, sun-drenched blooms, reciting the rosary and
see, that's the north antenna.
St. Joseph. My eyes rested on the crucifix over the altar.
That tells you the difference. But hear how quiet it is?
That its figure on the cross.
How quiet this antenna is?
Time in my life, the question arose in my mind.
That 10-foot elevation of the CAS gets it away from a lot of noise, man. A lot.
I could not answer that question. In giving this testimony while dealing with Roman Catholic,
who do I think this might be?
And asking if they can answer that question. The majority cannot. Some say that he died for the
Shreveport
world, but none can say that he died to save
or
the emphasis in the teaching of the Catholic schools is on the baby.
Nashville, WYFN. That's probably actually who it is. It's probably WYFN,
we have
Nashville.
as a historical fact.
That's the most likely who it is. I don't know, Barry, if you've got a beat on these guys on 980 where you are, if you've got your antennas in.
Her son more readily.
Hey, Terry.
After that, I began to take steps.
Glad to have you in there.
Going back into the
If you have that receiver online, throw the link in. We'll go check it out, man.
I left the world of acoustics.
I'm pretty sure that's Nashville that we're hearing there in English. The accordion music is probably Alleluia, knowing how their format usually works. And as a reminder, what we're hearing on the southeast. They're in there a little bit on that southeast wire, aren't they? Barry's looking south. Okay. Terry's got 20 plus dB signal on 980. He says. Said you're near Toronto. So I would imagine that's actually CFPL in London, Ontario, that you're getting. Would be my guess. Global News Radio, if you're hearing that ID, that's probably who that is. All right, let's do another check of shout outs just to make sure we don't miss anybody that has submitted. Let me... While I'm doing that, if you want to gander here at our FM autologger map of what we have coming in on our... this is our S antenna. Look at that S antenna go. KROI and Seabrook coming in, so it is starting to see that west-southwest look. Here is our 62-foot high omnidirectional. Seeing Seabrook. Also now seeing El Campo, Texas, which it wasn't there earlier. There's KOVE in Galveston still. Also starting to see up a little bit here in the Mississippi, which is interesting. And there was another station here. Bay City, that's who that was. KNTE Bay City. So a couple stations now down into Texas coming in on FM. And then if we look on our 21-foot dipole, 21-foot high dipole, there's Seabrook again, KROI 92.1 and KNTE 101.7. I want to do a really quick look at the FM band here. This is our ELAD FDM S3. So let's swap that over here. We can turn off the sirens. This is our full band here in Mandeville, and we're looking southwest. This is actually, I went out this evening and turned the antenna so it's pointing to the southwest towards Texas. Let's see what we have. Let's see if we actually can hear KROI here. Yep. So that's Seabrook right there. What were some of the other frequencies we were seeing here? 101.7. Yep, there's KNTE. You actually see the RDS decode there. Nice, Bay City. So there's a little Gulf Tropo coming in. David says we need reverse propagation folks to help us. Yeah, we do. Pull some of these signals up. So there's KNTE, that's Bay City. Let's also take a look and see what else we have here. So the Tropo engine's starting to ramp up, and I'm going to show you here in a moment. We'll look at the Tropo forecast map so we can see what to expect here. And then we're going to point you guys to our online receivers if you want to follow in and DX as if you were here. There's 106.5. That should be KOVE. That is Galveston, Texas. That is definitely them. They're coming in. We already did XBJ. What was the frequency here for KNTE? We did 101.7. Okay, I think we got that one. 96.9. Go back to 96.9.
That is fabulous. If you read it,
and this is that 4-element log periodic, by the way, that we're on right now.
You have not
There's El Campo.
in my name. Ask
KXBJ 4CDF RDSD code.
fullest possible joy. Y'all, did you hear that? That was amazing. That's in John 16, verse 24. I love you. If someone can hate you at random, I can love you at random.
Hi, I'm Joe Paulo, CEO of KSBJ. My goodness, what an
There we go. Let's take a look at a couple other open frequencies here. Let's go to 92.5.
Many options.
Actually, let's do this. If you want to follow along here and do some DXing on our online receivers, you can do that. Just go to livedxing.com. And once you get to live DXing, you'll see, if you scroll down, you'll see links to our 2 Kiwis, the shortwave central Kiwi around the corner, our DX central Kiwi here. So that's our AM machines. And here are the links to our 2 FM receivers. We have our original TEF 6686. This one is paired with that 33 foot high 4-element log periodic that I was talking about with the ELAD. Same antenna is feeding this receiver right here. So if you want to DX off of our 4-element log periodic that's 33 foot high, has a KITS KT 501 low noise amplifier on it, this sucker is going to be awesome during this Tropo opening. We're going to look at the forecast here in a second. This is going to be a good one for you. This is our headless TEF 6687 receiver. So this doesn't have a radio like screen and all that kind of stuff. It's just a little USB device that plugs into the computer. This is also a good one. Right now, it's only got the S antenna on it. My window panel or my window pass through for the Yagi is broken, so I got to replace it, which is going to be like 5 seconds to do because I already got the replacement. I just haven't gotten around to it. This would also be a good one as well, though. And when I get that Yagi reconnected, you'll be able to switch between the two of them. But the S is up there for right now. Just remember with these tuners, if there are other folks who are already on, if you change the frequency, you're changing the frequency for everybody. You change the antenna on this headless, you're changing it for everybody. So just be courteous to your fellow DXers. But let's go up here and look at our FM DX receiver that we have right now. Oh, I forgot. I've got to restart it because I got no RDSD code. I'll do that here in a minute after the show is over. I'll restart that machine so you can get that RDSD code data back in. So yeah, this will be a good one to watch over the next 24 hours. Why? Well, you see our auto logger maps. This is another way you can kind of keep track and see if we're getting good stuff, is looking at our auto logger maps. So if you go up to Rabbit Ears auto logger, I'll throw that in the chat here real quick. I'll throw you guys the full map, all tuners. You look at this map. Hey, Hobby Man, you know it, man. We are all about that FM here. If you go to that website, the Rabbit Ears All Tuner website, you'll see this, and this is all the different auto loggers. Ours are down here. You can get rid of the old reports if you want to. You can see anything that's in black is current. So this is all the stuff that our 3 auto loggers are collectively seeing. So if you start seeing stuff stretch down in this way, down in here, you're definitely going to want to go and look at our online receivers. The TEF with the log periodic will be great, but the S antenna on the headless will also be really good as well. Why is this happening? Well, here's our forecast. I'm going to back it off here. So this is from 1 o'clock today. Right now it's what UTC. It is 0300. So let's get to that. This is right now. This is what we are experiencing right now here in the Gulf. We have this little bit of strong tropo starting to push in from the Gulf, heading in this way down the Gulf Coast, down towards Mexico, Tamaulipas, and some of these others down here along the Texas coastline. So it's not super far inland yet on the Texas coastline or Mexico, but it's right there hugging the coast. This is going to push in a little bit, though, as we go into the night. This is 1 o'clock in the morning Central Time here. So in about 4 hours, this is what we'll be looking at. See, you have a little more red and orange here now into where I am here, right above Lake Pontchartrain. That's now pushing in even down into this way. So we should have, and that continues. This is That's 3 o'clock in the morning. This is 7 o'clock. So it's going to start to dissipate a little bit as we get closer to daylight, because this is just associated with some energy out front of a front. But from, I would say, between now and 3-4 o'clock in the morning, this could be some fun tropo. If you've never experienced Gulf tropo, this could be a lot of fun. I'm hopeful it gets us down into Mexico. If so, I'm going to be paying very close attention to that. And then that will push on through. That's going to kind of sit here off the coastline until this front actually pushes through and then clears it out, as they tend to do. You'll see the front actually come in here and just clear it all out. So until that happens, this kind of humid energy that we're sitting in right now in the Gulf is going to kind of sit here and foster some temperature inversions, which gives us tropo. Let's look at this on a wider scale for our folks up and down the East Coast. That way you can see if you have anything coming your way. Again, let's go here to 0300. So we got a little bit of tropo here, right in the Delmarva region, right off the Virginia coastline. So Dennis, up in your neck of the woods, if you're still on, up here along the North Carolina coastline, down into South Carolina, a little bit of tropo. Probably nothing exotic, probably some stuff you're typically used to, but if you want to kind of catch the waves here, this is a good way to kind of get in on some of this kind of East Coast tropo that we used to get when I was in Charleston. You see a little secondary. This is the front. This is frontal tropo, and it's not going to be super duper strong like we sometimes see with frontal tropo, but sometimes right there along the front itself, we'll get a little bit of a tropo duct along that line, and that's what's happening here. Is you'll start to see this right here, just out in front of the front itself, start to develop. It weakens a little bit as it's pushing through, but then as we go in here. You had a little bit here, right? Look at this. This is 3 o'clock in the morning from the North Carolina Outer Banks down into Georgia into Florida. You've got a little bit of a tropo opening here. This might punch into the Delmarva region as well. We have a little bit here, Barry, in your neck of the woods in Tennessee, if the weather's not knocking you around. This is by about, 9 o'clock in the morning Central Time. Right in here, you should have a little bit of tropo heading your way. Nothing significant, but you might get some stuff to your east-west, maybe a little bit into the south towards Alabama. Front starts to push in, clears all this out, and you can see it, right? A little bit off the coast here. And then the front just pushes all the fun stuff, gets rid of all the DX juice. And that is cold, stable air. That's what that is. How dark all this is on the forecast. There's nothing anywhere in here in the U.S. Southeast. That is cold, stable air. If it was warm air, we'd have some pockets. That is cold, stable air. There are no temperature inversions in there. Now, as we get into later part of next week, there might be a little bit of a warm up, I'm guessing, because they're starting to pick up on something pushing up from the Gulf. Maybe some of that warmer air pushing in. It's too far out for us to say. So anything more than like a week, it's not going to be all that great. No mute on my side. Barry can't hear me. Oh. Yeah, no, we're here. We're cooking. No mute on the microphone. Check my meter looking good. Yeah, you guys should be good. All right, real quick. We're going to wrap it up anyway. So real quick, let's talk about what we heard this week. And then we'll adjourn. Well, we got to turn off the shout outs. We will adjourn here in a moment. So if you want to go play on our online receivers, definitely tonight would be a good time to do that if you want to experience some Gulf tropo. Looking at we didn't really do new FMDX this week. We didn't get anything new, but we did get a couple of new AM ones. So we'll look at those. KHOJ St. Charles, Missouri was our one of our bigger, newer ones this week. That was on 1460 kilohertz. Again, I was looking at my list of frequencies where I had some gaps. 1460 kind of stood out, and so I went up and found them, and there was some EWTN programming, and there they were. And we actually have we have an air check of them that I can play for you guys really quick, and then we'll play Mesa Mike's air checks as well, and then we can skedaddle. Here is KHOJ. This is what we heard this week.
WRYT at
Edwardsville, KHOJ St. Charles, W224DC 92.7 FM Caseyville, K275CI 102.9 FM St. Charles, K244FO 96.7 FM Crestwood.
There you go. That was what we heard with KHOJ, St. Charles, Missouri. We did have a couple of new ones as well that snuck in from some recording review that we were doing. 1240 KRVC in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. You guys knew about that one. But 1220 KLPW, Brighton, Missouri. That showed up. So a couple of new Missouri ones this last week or so. 1220 XESAL in Saltillo, Canada, Mexico. Canada. No, that's Mexico. Did that on the 20th of September. Also the 20th of September. 1220 WHKW Cleveland. Talked about that. Those are the new ones. There haven't been a lot. It's been pretty dry here, so we need to get that DX cooking on the AM side. Looks like it's gonna be cooking on the FM side tonight. So if you, like I said, if you want to join in, do some FMDX, some Gulf Tropo. If you've never experienced Gulf Tropo, this is gonna be a good time to try it out. Be surprised how far down in the Texas coastline you'll be able to hear it tonight. So check those out. Again, livedxing.com is our website. You can find links to all of our online receivers there. Just go check that out. That's going to do it for me for tonight, right? We don't have any more stuff to talk about. We did that, and all that good. Good. For our sponsors, National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org, the International Radio Club of America, ircaonline.org, and the Spectrum Monitor, the Spectrum Monitor. Take care, my friends. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you guys next week right here on DX Central Live. Best DX.
This has been the DX Central from the Static Podcast. If you are interested in sponsoring this podcast, let us know by emailing sponsors@fromthestatic.net. If you have a story to share for our Stories from the Static series, send those to our email address, stories@fromthestatic.net. Be sure to join us for our live DX live stream every Friday night at 2345 UTC, 1845 Central Time on our YouTube channel or at dxcentrallive.com.
The DX Central From the Static podcast is copyright 2025, Lloyd Van Horn, DX Central. All rights reserved. No portion of this podcast may be rebroadcast or reused without the express written authorization of Lloyd Van Horn and DX Central. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, as new episodes will be posted regularly. Join us next time for the DX Central From the Static podcast.